This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove. I got the one and only Mickey B. Fresh in the house today. Mickey B., how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Brad. Great to be back on the show.
It is great to be back on the show. And you know what? I'm on the mend with this neck surgery, and I want to let everybody know if my voice is a little low, if it's a little raspy or what have you. You know what I mean? I did just have them yanking on my neck and cutting in there, you know, doing what they had to do. And I tell you, it feels like somebody smacked me in my neck for about an hour with a bat. You know, but we're going to get through this thing because you know what? There's two things that aren't going away, Mickey, and it's Flare and the questions that we have there. And listen, and they're great questions, by the way. And you and I have a lot of questions, and we're going to get into that. And then the other thing we want to get in today is just touch on briefly the RTGS. What is it? Cloud? Is that what it is? RTGS Global. That's what it is. They escaped me there. Yeah, and we'll go ahead and get that. And I think we're going to be able to put that to rest, and everybody can have a great holiday weekend. So let's go ahead and pull up this clip. And I know you can't see it, but I'm pulling up right now a Twitter clip, and you may or may not have seen it. This is from a guy named Ronald. We're talking about the Flare network. He says that it is now 900 million XRP accounts have been set up to claim Spark tokens from Flare network, and that's exciting. And I know it was at 515 million at one point, not too long ago. So I think that the larger narrative here, Mickey, is that people want to get the Spark token, do they not?
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to start seeing that number go up and up and up. I mean, we have, 13 weeks till the actual snapshot on the ledger. So even up to the last date, we're going to see that number continue to rise because they're going to want the Spark token, especially as more information comes out upon the applications built on Flare.
Speaking of more information coming out, Mickey, because it's a great point you're making there. You know, let's talk about it a bit. I mean, first of all, let's be clear for everybody listening. We don't have enough information yet, but I want people to know as we talk about this stuff, I know you are, and I certainly am too. I'm very excited about Flare Network and what it can bring to the entire digital asset space, let alone for the offering for XRP holders. Can you talk about that for a second from your end?
Absolutely. So what Flare allows is for XRP to be minted as FXRP, which allows it then to be used in Ethereum smart contracts. And now this opens up XRP to a whole new world and a whole new array of use cases. And that's big for just the XRP community and XRP ecosystem alone. But now Flare, besides building that bridge just to the XRP ledger, is going to build bridges to the Ethereum, to Polkadot, to Cosmos. Right. And that's going to open up then the utility for XRP because FXRP is XRP. It's the same thing. And that the more FXRP that is minted, that's going to determine really the value of Spark because you're going to need, we don't have all the information on this yet, but we do know that Spark is going to have 2.5 times collateral backing every FXRP that's minted.
Right. And we currently don't know the price of Spark yet.
No, we don't. And we know it's going to have to be intertwined with the price of XRP because as XRP goes up in value, FXRP is going to go up in value since those are pegged 1-to-1. Spark is not a stable coin. Yeah. I just want to throw this out there. Yeah. There was some information posted earlier months ago that they were going to build a algorithmic stablecoin that burned XRP. That was dropped in favor of Spark, which is going to have its own value. It's not going to be a stablecoin, but it will be inherently tied to XRP because you're going to always need 2.5 times collateral for all the FXRP that's minted. Right. Now, holders of XRP don't have to choose to put that collateral up. That's going to be where we're going to look for more information on how that works on the Flare network. That'll be a way to earn passive income and other options. And they use the word agents on there. So we need to look for more information there. But we do know that Spark's value will be inherently tied to XRP's price in a way. And the more FXRP that's minted will drive the demand for more collateral of Spark to be locked up, which will drive the price of Spark up. So there is a connection between Spark, FXRP, and XRP that we need to kind of understand as they release information about the applications that are built on Spark, on Flare. And that'll determine the demand for FXRP.
Well said. Well said. And I want to just point out too, because I know I showed, you touched on the earlier white paper that people had found, James Rule XRP, shout out to him for finding it and doing a deep dive on that. But that's no longer accurate. That information has been changed and updated. That is not the current system, as you just explained a minute ago. So I just want to shout him out for finding that information, but then also making sure we all understand that there's a more definitive thing that's happening now. Now, to your point about, having the FXRP, pegged and run on the Ethereum network here, the larger picture here, and we were talking before we went live, but the larger picture here I start to get in my mind is like, this is, to me, this is like the internet of value coming together right before our eyes here. We're seeing the integration of two enormous networks and being made interoperable here, and the scalability possibilities are endless. And to go along with that, Mickey, Brad Garlinghouse himself says Flare is combining the best of XRP very fast settlement, Ethereum smart contracts, and Avalanche consensus, which helps extend XRP's utility and allows developers to create smart contracts for new use cases in lending and DeFi. Your turn.
Absolutely. So Flare doesn't actually run on the Ethereum mainnet. So I just wanted to make that clear here. So we won't have to deal with all the gas fees and all the negatives of Ethereum. It'll use Ethereum addresses.
Great point.
And it'll use Ethereum virtual machine, but it won't have to deal with all the mainnet problems. So we get the best we pull out of Ethereum with the virtual machine. And I believe they're going to use for smart contracts like the Truffle Web3. So that adds a whole new utility for XRP now in smart contracts.
So now you're really just talking about now, suffering the cost of the gas charges on the Ethereum network and literally being able to get the best of Ethereum without having to pay those fees. Is that right?
Exactly. That's correct. Yeah. So we'll get the best of Ethereum smart contracts and all the development that goes around that Ethereum virtual machine. And I believe Flare said they were using Truffle. At least that's what's on their GitHub. And that'll allow for advanced smart contract capabilities. And XRP's never had that. So this adds a whole new thing, and it will bring DeFi. It will bring XRP into the DeFi world. And now Flare is the infrastructure provider. So they're going to be the ones who build the bridges, build the Flare network. But they're not necessarily, they could, but not the ones who are going to build the applications. That's where their partners, who we do know are like Securitize, Custody Digital, and there's a couple others in there that they already partnered with. And another thing to note here is that they've had this Costin testnet up for almost a year. So they've had the ability for all these developers to test all these applications for the past year. So once the mainnet goes live, they should be able to spin up the applications fairly quickly, and it shouldn't be a long process to where now the devs have to come over, develop them. They should already be developed and pop up soon after mainnet.
It's just remarkable. Again, the tech can get heavy, the verbiage can get deep, right? I like to use analogies. They work well for me, and I know they work well for a lot of people. And it really feels like we're at that moment in the early days of the internet when you had AOL and Netscape and NetZero, and now all of a sudden, the websites and the places I used to go on AOL right after this combination of Flare with Ethereum and this and that, and using the best principles and properties from all these different networks and areas, I can now start to go to that AOL site from my Netscape place, right? And pretty soon, none of it'll matter because it's all one ecosystem. And I feel like, we're literally watching this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the first time that really we're going to see a bridge to Ethereum. And the fact that they built this to XRP Ledger, I think is important because it's a trustless bridge. It's not wrapped XRP. this is actually a trustless way to mint FXRP onto Ethereum addresses. So you don't have to trust anybody.
Right.
And I think that's important. I think that was one of their main goals in building this, is that it's just like the internet. When you send if you have Hotmail and you're sending to Gmail, you don't need to trust anyone that email is going to get there. You just know it's going to get there.
And isn't it, in fact, like if I'm using FXRP to get the advantage of the smart contract on the Ethereum network without the gas fees by using XRP that's minted to it? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like you can see that it's like, hey, you know, this Ethereum thing's not too bad except for all the gas fees. If we do this, you could still use the smart contract aspect of the network and not suffer all the downside.
Exactly. Now, we've seen that Ethereum has come out in front, like the standard of their addresses and their smart contracts has kind of taken the lead. So I think the people at Flare and Ripple and Spring realize that. So like, hey, let's just take the best from Ethereum and combine it with the settlement aspect and the fast speed of the XRP ledger. And then we'll throw in this new consensus from Avalanche on top and create the Spark token, which allows the trustless bridge. So they brought the best of all worlds together. And I think that's important, and that it's in a way future-proofed, that it could connect with other ledgers.
What happens to the Ethereum stakeholders on the network who aren't making as many gas fees because of this grand solution that's happened? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, what happens long term?
Well, they're going to be going through that transition to 2.0. Yeah, and that's not going to happen overnight. That's going to take years, and there's already hiccups with that. So the miners are the one who earn the gas fees, and we've all seen that the gas fees with the DeFi explosion have gone through the roof to where they're eating into the profits of the users. And now you'll avoid that on Flare.
Well, exactly. So my question is I mean, by default of innovation, you know, you know, I liken it to, you know, and Gary, I'm going to steal a story from Gary Vaynerchuk, who's amazing. You know, nobody was crying for Rick the bookstore owner when Amazon came around and started kicking them in the fanny, right? And put them out of business. You know, it isn't the first time that technology and innovations come along and just wiped out an industry, right? You know, when you think of that, I start instantly thinking, you know, the stakeholders on that network, it's like you're the VHS tape in the CD world. It's like it isn't long before you're out of here. You're the CD and it's going to streaming. You know, that's really what the stakeholder is. It's like, you know, here, I mean, listen, and I know that there's money to be made. I'm just saying I can already see the end for the stakeholder to the network. Because why wouldn't everybody at this point want to go through XRP, have XRP minted, and then use the smart contract network of Ethereum without suffering any fees at all? I mean, I don't hear anyone talk about this, but it's been on me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, you know, Ethereum has their Ethereum maxi attitude, and a lot of those stakeholders probably won't move. But remember, it's only a small little niche DeFi community. Right. We've yet to involve all the big tech, the banks, the institutions. They've yet to come over. So they're not going to come over and build on a network that's capable of being sustainable long term. Yep. So all now RippleNet, you got to remember, has 400 institutions almost and countless partners. Now Flare is going to have access to all of them now with smart contracts. So they're going to be the ones who build the applications, and all the Spring investments, from Securitized to other ones to Logos, are going to be the ones who build these applications. And that'll draw in more people. And we will probably take some from Ethereum, but they have their Ethereum diehard mentality, and some are going to try to stay and make that system better. But the new ones who come over, and it's still 99% of the world, is going to choose not to build on something that has high gas fees. Because why would you?
Exactly. I mean, that's really the end of the day. That's really it. I mean, you know, it's like you can see the end of the road as far as the gas fees. And look, I mean, that goes for proof of work or proof of stake. It's a done deal. You know what I mean? Put a stake in it, it's done. It's like, you know, and I don't mean that the Ethereum network will go away. It won't go away. They're talking about the highway staying. But the point of staking and the point of proof of work don't work. Over time, it doesn't work, right? And they found a way to do an end around on their own network, on Ethereum's network, and still take advantage of it. And it's just remarkable to me. Okay, so let's talk about, before we go on to this, and we have one other topic today, but before we go on to this, Mickey, I want to just speak for a second, because this opens up so many new use cases for smart contracts, new use cases, lending, DeFi. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, we're talking about the potential of multi-trillion-dollar markets here is what we're talking about. Obviously, it takes time to grow these things, but just speak to how large you see this, because I know that we both align on how we see this.
Exactly. This opens up, I mean, all the issuances of native digital securities onto Flare, and tokenized funds and real estate tokenization. So you open up that whole side, then you open up the DeFi side combined with all the institutional. Now, one thing I just do want to bring up about Flare is that it's designed to be a permissioned network. So it is designed for institutional use to be used. This isn't like a retail only platform. This is designed so institutions could issue real estate tokenization, digital securities, tokenized VC funds, and they run on the same Ethereum standard and addresses that would be on the mainnet or on Quorum. So you get all the benefits of, why would you use JPM's Quorum when you could use Flare and have all the liquidity and settlement of XRP right there too?
Absolutely, well said. And I want to remind people while we're talking about this stuff, you know, is that GateHub, Flare shared about 3 hours ago. Thanks for support, GateHub, and it says excited to announce that GateHub will fully support Flare networks and Spark token. And for people,
can I just touch on that?
Yeah, and let me give them a definition of GateHub real quick so they understand. GateHub is a platform of Internet of Value built on the XRP Ledger protocol, and it allows everyone to send, receive, and trade, manage any type of assets. Go, Mickey.
So I know GateHub revamped their website. So they offer two wallets. They offer a hosted custodial wallet and a non-custodial wallet. So that's another option for us as XRP holders to look into, because they're actually a gateway onto the ledger. And that's news to me. So that's great to hear that they're supporting it.
Yes.
They're one of the first longest time partners with Ripple. So
yeah. It's exciting.
Another option. We're going to keep seeing this pop out every day. More and more options.
Yeah, and I want to remind people too, and I want them to understand full disclosure. You know, it's like, you know, we're all spread out on a lot of different exchanges. Some of these exchanges offer Spark. Some of these have not offered. Coinbase doesn't currently offer. You know, we have some time to figure out and get some more questions from Flare. And we're working very hard behind the scenes to do that. We'll keep everybody posted on that. But at the same time, I just want people to understand how excited I am about it, even though there may be situations in certain exchanges that I'm not moving what I have off of it yet, just because there are a few more questions I'd like to learn. Because, hey, as we learn more, I may find that they may approve it for some of the exchanges that I'm on, and I don't end up having to move it at all. So
exactly. We got time.
We got time. We got a little time. Okay. So let's move now to a topic that seems to come along about every 4 to 6 weeks, that something's going to wipe out, you know, XRP, man. It's just, you know, we're done for. The Ripple network, it's over. You know, they've come out with it, and there's something else. We can all pack it up and go home. I'm pretty sure when I was at Singapore at Swell, and I'm very grateful for the ability to go. I can tell you that there were 800 of the largest banks and financial institutions and payment providers there, and every single one of them intend to use Ripple and XRP. they're real people and they really went there for that,
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's a live product.
It's a very live product
use.
in commercial use, buddy. Yeah. And, and ODL is very real, right? So, all right, let's talk about this. So, real-time cross-border payment innovator cut trillions from global financial friction. RTGS Global is using the latest technology, which is not quite accurate, from Microsoft as your cloud platform to enable bank-to-bank cross-border payments in near real time, 50 milliseconds. Now, Mickey, I'm going to turn this over to you, but before I do, I have to let people know I mean, I didn't even realize that people were like grabbing onto this in the manner that they were. And I know I have a channel, and I kind of feel a responsibility to touch these things when the audience is feeling unsure about something. And I've gotten some blowback on this, like, hey, you need to sit down, do a video on this, But I've never thought there was a there. And I think competition is great for Ripple and XRP if it should be there, but this is not really competition in the same business model. Can you talk about this, Mickey?
No, this isn't competition for demand. This is for liquidity visibility into pre-funding already.
Exactly.
So it has a fancy name, and I think that's what's drawn a lot of people's attention is the RTGS Global. When we hear so much about the domestic RTGS systems, which are important for RippleNet, and they will help in the last mile. But this is something totally different. Now, this is not, let's start here. This is still beta testing. This is not in live production. This has not gotten much attention until basically yesterday on Twitter. And it doesn't solve the liquidity problem that on-demand liquidity and XRP and what they're trying to create with the Internet of Value is doing. This is kind of like, I call it a hack of the system. It's just creating more visibility into something like what Swift GPI was doing. So it's more of a competitor, I see, for like Swift GPI than it is for on-demand liquidity and XRP and what it's capable of doing and what they're building with the Internet of Value. This is kind of like 5 years too late, in my opinion. It does use some trick technology with like AI to gain visibility. It's not built on DLT. It's a centralized system, and it's still in testing. So I really don't see how something that's in testing and has no real world use yet is direct competition. But having competition is good because it proves the use case of what they're trying to do with RippleNet.
Absolutely. Well said. And I just wanted to add into that, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau here domestically in the United States had that rule go into effect on July 21st.
Oh, did you lose me? I'm sorry.
Oh, can you hear me? I got you.
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Okay, I'm back. And I just want to remind people that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau came out with the rule effective July 21st, 2020. And they talked about the sender and receiver being able to see that information before they actually accept the transition or the payment or transaction into payment, right? So, when I look at this, I think you make a perfect analogy, and it goes back and reminds me of what Brad Garlinghouse used to say about GPI solution was a fast auto body, car body on top of a really old, slow engine. And it really goes to speak to the difference of what we're talking about here. I covered this a couple days ago in a video that I did, and Marcus Treacher had a great fireside chat that he did a few months ago where he talked about the fact that, you have to understand Ripple is not revamping an old system. They're building a brand new system. And when you look at what this is with RTGS Global, it's in fact them trying to Band-Aid the old system in a great way. So it's just not the same thing at all, and I want people to know that going forward. I really want them to understand that.
Not at all. Where did you lose me before?
It's good. I was actually remarking about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and that when I see things like RTGS Global, one of their attributes as they're offering is being able to see that payment transaction on the front end. And I think that this helps some of the legacy firms in situations that haven't got the upgrade, that haven't done the huge transition to the new financial payment rails. I think maybe this will serve them in that regard. regard that they can start having that transparency before accepting a payment, whether it's the sender or the receiver, because that's like I said, the CFPB has put out that rule effective, to be able to see that. So I think this helps in that regard, but it's not a replacement. And I think that's the big thing to understand.
Exactly. This is not a replacement for on-demand liquidity.
Exactly.
This is kind of a competition for a Swift GPI.
Right.
And it's not interoperable with Swift GPI. So they're kind of doing this outside of the scope. So it brings like a third competition into the mix here. But neither Swift GPI nor this RTGS Global is solving the liquidity problem.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a hack of the system that allows you more. They use the word visibility. Ripple uses the word transparency. They're the same things. So it does do some of the things that RippleNet does, but it doesn't do everything. And it also doesn't have a network with standardized software that everyone on the network is using, like RippleNet.
Yeah.
So I don't really see it as direct competition, because you now need to go to all the central banks. You need to go to all the regulators. You need to go build a network. Now you got to get everyone to standardize their software, standardize their APIs, get them to install all this stuff. And they already started upgrading. They either started with GPI, or they're with RippleNet, or they're with both. And now you got this small fintech coming in trying to do that, and they don't have that many backers. So it's not like this is a big project coming out of Citibank or JP Morgan. This is a fintech startup.
Oh, absolutely.
With a patent.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, Quorum was just sold, wasn't it?
Exactly.
From JPM.
Yes.
Yeah. I found that to be an interesting little tidbit too.
That was very interesting how they sold that. They realized that, hey, we can't run a whole blockchain and expect everyone just to follow what JPM is going to do. So they realized they had to hand it off. And that goes more into along the notion of what Brian Brooks was saying. We're moving to more of a decentralized, distributed world, where it's not just going to be just one centralized entity running everything like JPM is used to doing with their correspondent banking network.
Absolutely. Well said, Mickey. Well, look, I know we didn't want to go too long today, and and wanted to keep it just focused on these two issues. A final thought, this thing, because you and I are going to be getting together very soon again anyway. So final thought, this thing, or anything that you want to touch on for people about where we're going. In fact, let me get you to comment on this. What does this space look like to Mickey B. Fresh 18 months from now?
Well, I see a lot of changes happening already. And I think in 18 months, we're going to see a lot more. I mean, Flare is the start of seeing these bridges being built between different networks beyond what Interledger could just do, which is moving value. Now we're able to move assets between different networks in a trustless way. And this isn't just wrapped BTC or that. This is now a new way of transacting, which is similar to the internet, and it's going all towards that vision of the internet of value. And I think we're going to see a big change in the way that the exchanges operate and trading occurs with the institutions coming in and the institutional money. I do think things are going to change a lot because we have a lot of siloed liquidity all over the world. And one thing that DeFi on Ethereum has proven is how they could bootstrap liquidity right out the gate on some of these, people call them crap tokens, and get deep liquidity from these liquidity pools and automated market makers. And I think we're going to see RippleNet head in that direction and use more of the tech to deepen the liquidity instead of just counting on these crypto exchanges in different corridors to have deep liquidity out of speculation. And that's really never going to happen. So we're going to need to use some of this. We're going to see the merging of the DeFi world with the institutional world. I think that's one thing to look for in the future. And Flare is smack dab in the middle of that.
I mean, that is so well said. I love your insight so much, man. And so does everybody.
Thank you. And I think the right word to be would be decentralized financial market infrastructures.
Yes. Well said.
That sounds more institutional, right? There was
really
a great paper that was just put out on that. And we're going to start to see more papers from these international organizations coming about DeFi, because we've only seen the tip of the iceberg with Ethereum. once we get all these hedge funds and market makers and prime brokerages and banks and asset managers in, we're going to see the merging of these two worlds come together.
I completely agree. It's well said. And my final thought on this thing is that, you know, over the 18 months, looking ahead, I expect to see obviously an ever-changing world in the digital asset space too, and in large part, you know, you covered the convergence of these networks coming together and getting the best out of one another, and I'll take it from the other side and go regulatory side, and I think we're just going to get so much of what we have been wanting and needing for a long time that is really going to allow the market to just absolutely take off like a rocket. I really do believe that. And I believe that in a way that no longer will it be retail driven. It will be an institutional market, and it will be amazing to see that day. I mean, think of that for a moment when we're talking about, you know, we're not looking at a retail-driven market anymore. We're talking about an institutional-driven market, and that to me is pretty damn exciting because it says there's a lot of use case here, because that's really what this comes down to, right? We're moving from a new watermark from a retail speculator-driven market about what these assets are, what they can do for the world, and really moving into a place where they're actually starting to be applicable and put to use to real applications in the world. And that to me is where the value really starts to show up.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So just on the last final word here is keep an eye out for those, what you said, applications being built by institutions. We're going to see more of those leading up to the Flare snapshot. So keep an eye on their announcements of what applications are going to be built on Flare, because I think we're going to hear more announcements, and that will drive more interest into the Spark token and how its value is determined.
Absolutely. Well said. Mickey B. Fresh in the house. Thank you, my friend, for being here. I hope you and your family have a wonderful holiday weekend, and we will talk to you soon. Guys, keep a lookout. Mickey B. and myself will be back on the show very, very soon. So keep a lookout for that to happen. Mickey, we'll catch up later, my friend. Take care.
Thank you, Brad.
All right. Take care.